In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Now get set again.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Out there across this country and the globe. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is I, your lovable host, L. Rod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the leaves are now really starting to finally change. So if you're in a leaf peeper mode, it might be time to plan this weekend to head to northern New England. For those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Ria Linda, that would be the 3 states of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. But do me a favor, especially if you're a liberal coming from anywhere, or especially if you're a liberal coming from a liberal-run state, just come and visit and then go home. Do not plan to stay, as in move here. I beseech you to not do so. As we move on into the week. And the number that you can call here this evening, by the way, the Granite State's motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. But I heard today about how many possible bills are before our state legislature. It's a frightening number, including some stupid stuff like somebody, and I guess this is a Republican. I have to confirm this, but the bill basically states that you must wear, men and women must wear pink bathing caps when swimming in New Hampshire lakes. Now, I know it makes no sense, but I guess because, if there's a lifeguard, they can see a pink on the water, but if you're on a busy beach and everybody's wearing pink, how are you going to be able to tell if somebody disappears? It's a lot more difficult when everybody looks the same because everybody's wearing a pink cap to determine, who's missing. Because let's face it, everybody's head looks different, even when you're out in the water. So that's the thing that lifeguards pay attention to is they look at people's heads to make sure that they're above water and not drowning, I guess. But I'm not a lifeguard, so you'd have to really ask a lifeguard about that one. But anyway, the number that you can call this evening is 603-835-3224, and we are loaded to bear tonight. I mean, I know people in about an hour? Is it 8 o'clock? Or is it now? Anyway, it's going to be a yawner, folks, the Democratic presidential candidate debate. And I guess Biden is going to be listening, and I guess Trump is going to be live tweeting during the debate. That's probably people are probably not going to watch the debate on CNN. They're probably just going to be waiting for Donald's tweets to see what he says about the responses to the questions. I know there's one of the things that people are kind of upset with is that Anderson Cooper, the Clintonite, is moderating the debate, and it's I guess there aren't going to be any gotcha questions, and anyway, that's supposed to be the case. There's not going to be really much gotcha. There isn't going to be much that's going to put Hillary in a bad light. I guess one, I can't watch it because I'm doing this program. But two, even if I was available, I still probably wouldn't watch it because it's going to be the same kind of. I mean, Bernie Sanders is probably going to come out the winner on this one. Really, seriously, putting all kidding aside, it's pretty sad if that is going to be the case. Otherwise, it's just going to be a yawner. If we're not, I don't know. Maybe the other three no names will be attempting to make a name for themselves, much like some of the people in the some of the candidates on the Republican side did at the past couple of debates. But somehow I doubt it. Since there's not going to be allowed any real fireworks, I don't think. You can go ahead and watch it if you want, but I think you'll be more informed and have a better time if you stay put listening to this show tonight. And, of course, if you're listening to this on a replay, then you already know. You already know what a yawner the debate is. So I'm not going to be wrong about this, I'm sure. Don't doubt me. In any event, got a lot to talk. First thing, I know everybody's out there talking about a couple of big stories today, like Planned Parenthood. Now they're going to stop being reimbursed for aborted baby parts. Well, wait, I thought that they were saying that they weren't getting paid for it. Isn't that what they said, that the videos were doctored and that they weren't getting paid for it, for any of the baby parts? Well, now they're saying, well, we're not going to accept any reimbursement for baby parts. Now, folks, that is just, look, as much as I do not like the abortion industry, and it's big industry in this country, and as much as I, have a certain disdain for Planned Parenthood, it doesn't need public funding. Now, here's the see, what they're doing is, this is called money laundering. Legally, by the way. They're laundering money. See, what happens is that the government, run by a bunch of liberals, and allowed by a bunch of gutless Republicans, gets given to, taxpayer money gets given to Planned Parenthood. Then Planned Parenthood turns around and uses the money, not really to help it run its operations, but to supply cash back to liberal candidates and liberal causes. So it's actually taking. See, this is where all this fund. I am fully behind this. This is where I think all government funding of any private organization should stop. I don't care what the organization is. All public funding of non-government companies, entities, agencies, whatever you want to call them, if they're not run by a government, but be it local, state, or federal, it should not get any taxpayer money. Period. Because the basis of it is nothing more than a money laundering scheme. And taxpayer dollars should not be, your hard-earned dollars should not be going towards foisting certain radical and extremist views on either side of the aisle upon the public. That's not what government is for. That's not what tax dollars are for. So I would call for all funding of all governmental agencies from any government, especially the Fed, to immediately cease and desist. And I think we as Americans and we as taxpayers should demand this of candidates and our current elected representatives. We should demand that this stop. I don't care. Don't give me this notion, well, they can't make it work with it. Well, if they can't make it work without government funding, then too damn bad. Then it's not really that important in that community, and it's not really needed. Let it die. Something bigger, better, faster, stronger, all that kind of stuff is going to come up to replace it if it is truly a needed service. Plain and simple. It's going to be in the private sector. It should not be getting government money. And this whole notion that private institutes of higher learning also get government funding should also stop. Look, big education is really big. Unless they make a lot of money in various ways, not just off tuition, by the way. College sports programs are rival that of professional sports as far as the money that's made. The difference is that those college student athletes cannot be paid or reimbursed. But the colleges can make an awful lot of money off of them, and they do. I know they say, well, we give out scholarships, Rod, with that money that we earn. No, not nearly as much as what you're earning. You're making a humongous profit off these amateur athletes. So again, it's a money laundering type of scheme. Taking federal dollars in these private colleges is a money laundering. These colleges don't need it, and if they do, that means that they're not attracting enough students because the college sucks. So let the college die like any other private entity. It's plain and simple in my book. You don't have to. It's not something that really needs a lot of thought in my book. But, I know it is what it is. It is what it is. Hey, again, I am loaded to bear here. We of course, are not going to get through everything as per usual. But I got things from, got some news on Clock Boy. I'm going to go over that with you in just a moment. Got some news on Confederate battle flag waivers. Wait till you hear this one. And got some Putin news for you. This is this is a good one, and the whole sharing, social media sharing. Is becoming a huge problem. Got some news on that front for you, as well as some Clinton news that doesn't necessarily have to do with her emails or the debate. Stick around for that as well. Plus, what some socialists are saying about Bernie Sanders. But in any event, well, the first thing I should probably go over is that Hillary Clinton, if you haven't heard already, there's a new Fox News poll. New Fox News poll out there. I know, you listen to Fox, right? No, I actually do not watch Fox News. But there's a poll out there. And right now, as of 2016, if the election were held today, Carson, Trump, Bush. Well, yeah. Well, I'm not even. I'm probably not even going to go over that the Bush debacle with Trump, the plant. That's. I'm not shocked. But I am a little, and I'm not surprised. But I'm a little bit upset about that. But I'm not gonna get into that right now. But in this Fox News poll, Carson, Trump, Bush, and Fiorina all beat Hillary Clinton if the election were held today. The surprise is that Carson beats her the worst. The Fox News poll. They put Carson at 50% and Clinton at 39%. Now, Clinton doesn't get more than 40% against any of the four. But and the next big winner would be Trump, 45% to Clinton's 40%. Now, what's worrisome is what Fox News is Fox News isn't really pointing this out, but what's worrisome about this poll is that more than a third of polled voters still support Clinton after all of this mess with her scandals. More than a third. That is troublesome. That is worrisome. I don't really understand how so many people can be willing to give up their well, let me finish my thought. How so many people can be willing to give up and turn over their liberty and freedom for what they know truly isn't security. I don't know how often it is. Even the left constantly says, "Well, these people just aren't making enough money. We're not giving enough money or putting in enough money to these programs. We got to put in more. There isn't going to be enough money. There cannot be enough money for government welfare programs like we have. Because no matter, let me put it this way. Right now we have one of the worst economies in our nation's history. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, it can't be that bad. Well, it's awful. You have nearly 50 million Americans or more receiving some form of government assistance or benefit every month. You have more than 95 million Americans who are out of the workforce, out of work. We are still down some, 7 to 9 million jobs total, net, in the hole from when Obama took over. We have the Fed that can't raise interest rates simply because if they even raise it to 1%, it is going to throw the economy into the tank again, where they can't hide it. So this whole notion that and we have, confidence is still, consumer confidence is still pretty low. People's wages have stagnated and in many cases have actually gone backwards as far as buying power, even without so-called inflation. Go figure that. How does that happen? Well, because people have to find new jobs, and the new job that they're getting doesn't pay anywhere near what the old job paid. So we have all of this economic turmoil and trouble, but it's being hidden because we're spending ourselves to death on the government side. We have an $18.5 trillion deficit and growing rapidly in order to support giving money to all these people who are out of work and not producing anything, not contributing back to society. And no, Ms. Pelosi, unemployment and welfare benefits do not boost the economy. Because we're not giving enough to these people for them to advance themselves. All they're basically doing is surviving, unless, of course, they're living in, they're the real welfare recipients and getting multiple types of governmental benefits from state and federal level. Section 8 housing and food assistance and healthcare assistance and this assistance and that assistance. Look, in some states, a welfare recipient, if they play the numbers right and they follow the so-called rules, you're looking at earning $25,000 to $30,000 a year given to them. Well, that's not poverty. And if they don't have to pay what your middle class person has to pay, full price for. I even heard a commercial about some farmers market in Maine or something like that. I didn't really pay attention till they got to the point in the commercial where they accept SNAP. Okay, that's fine. Farmers market accepts SNAP. And I'm thinking, well, farmers markets are usually kind of pricey. Depending on which farmer's market you go to and where the farmer's market is located, it can be a little bit more expensive than going to the grocery store, but at least you're getting, supposedly fresh, locally grown food, right? But here's the gist. Here's the rest of the story on that one, as Paul Harvey would say. Not only do they accept SNAP, food stamps or food assistance payments, cards, but you get a discount if you're on SNAP. Yeah, you heard me right. According to the radio ad, if you're on SNAP, you get a discount. Now, I don't recall hearing what the discount amount was, but you're still getting a discount. Now, regular hardworking people who actually earn their money, the middle class, and the working poor who aren't using SNAP, they don't get a discount. They got to pay full price. I know some people will say, well, they're stretching our government dollars, right? No. the point is that they're giving a discount to people who really don't deserve it. I'm sorry. No, I don't think they should be spending, buku dollars on food, but to only give we used to give discounts to seniors. I didn't hear the ad say that they were giving, the radio spot saying they were giving discounts to senior citizens at this farmer's market, but if you had SNAP and used your SNAP card, you got a discount. Now, there's something wrong with that. I mean, I realize it's the state of Maine, but still, there's something seriously wrong with that. So, again, I don't understand how more than 1/3 of the polled voters can still support. Well, I do, because it's all media driven. It's all, Kardashian-esque, if you will. Celebrityism, all that kind of stuff, which I thoroughly hate, by the way. I don't reality stuff, but it contributes to an uninformed class of people, masses of people. And when you have uninformed voters, that's a problem. So all these people see for Clinton is, oh, she's a Democrat. She cares. Because Democrats care. That's how you get to 1/3 support, because they don't fully understand or pay attention to all her scandals, which would prove that she doesn't really care. But they think she cares, I guess. So that's what counts, which is why you get 39 and 40% support for her. Getting beat handily by the top 4 candidates in the Republican Party. Think about that.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Power Swabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is Ben Gordon with Power Swabs, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Power Swabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Power Swabs risk-free, call 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140.
Did you know that 1 in 4 people in America lives with a mental illness? Do you have the communication skills to help out if one is in a crisis? What if it's your best friend? Maybe your son or daughter? Well, crisis intervention isn't new. The book Crisis Intervention 101 is. It's easy to read, include links to 2 videos, and it's under $10. Get your copy of Crisis Intervention 101 today on Amazon.com, because we all need help in a crisis.
Start training for a new career in as little as 18 days. National EMS Institute's innovative boot camp program will train you for a new career. Learn to respond to emergency situations and become a certified EMT in just 18 days. National EMS Institute guarantees 100% job placement. Visit www.nationaleMSinstitute.com today to learn more about our 18-day boot camp. Or call us at 1-800-497-6732. NationalEMSinstitute.com.
Stuck in a boring, low-paid job? By 2017, there will be a shortage of 2 million cybersecurity jobs worldwide. If you have a technical background but don't have a computer certification, you are being drastically underpaid. In months, you could be qualified for a new job in information technology, making real money with real job security. A new career is just a few clicks away at thecodeoflearning.com.
Is the number to call should you wish to join me here live on the Rod Eccles Show. And on what was that clicking? Started clicking. I don't. Anyway, 603-835-3224. The clicking ghosts are getting into my machines here. Clock Boy, Ahmed the Clock Boy. Now you remember this kid. This is this Muslim Arabic kid from Texas. No, understand. I do believe I believe he's a natural born citizen. In other words, I believe he was born here. His parents immigrated here legally, and I think he was born in Texas. But anyway, the 14-year-old was it freshman or sophomore? The 14-year-old high school male kid is he's the one that took a homemade clock to school in a briefcase, and it looked like a briefcase bomb. And rightfully so, one of his teachers and the principal and the police of the area freaked out over it. But nothing happened other than, him getting notoriety and Obama stepping in and saying, hey, why don't you come up to the White House sometime? Because, you were just treated so horribly. There, Ahmed, whatever. You're just treated so badly because, they were doing profiling on you. I won't stand for that. So you come to the White House, and I'll show you a good time. I got your back there, Ahmed. Next time, going to do something like this, make sure it's a real bomb. But, so he was elevated to this poor, misunderstood kid. Because even I, at first, without seeing the actual briefcase clock, thought, wait a minute, the kid made a clock and he brought the clock to school, and everybody freaked out and thought it was a bomb, and people don't know the difference between a bomb and a clock. And then I saw, it's the way the media works. They get everybody's sympathy, and then they start giving you the facts. And then I saw the briefcase, and I'm like, wait a minute. That's what that kid brought to school and was showing his teachers. He did that on purpose, and he was trying to get a rise out of them. Although he just didn't expect that it was going to be a legal rise. And then the president jumps in and says, oh, poor Ahmed. And they're just dissing you because you're an Arab. And then you got all the liberal sympathizers out there talking about how we're so bad at this profiling and Americans are just so skittish and bigoted and racist. That was the mantra about this whole thing. And even when even some liberals look at that clock and say, well, that's a clock, kind of bomb. But you guys were just so racist, so bigoted. You just assume that, well, yeah, the kid brought something to school that looked like a full-fledged bomb. Well, in any case, in any event, the kid became basically because Obama decided to step in, he became an overnight worldwide sensation. And if you don't believe me, now this is from WND.com. Ahmed the Clock Boy is now on a celebrity tour in the Middle East. Oh yeah, he's being hailed as a celebrity, a hero. Here's a story. Texas teenager Ahmed Mohammed brought a clock that looked like a bomb to school. His dad is a 9/11 conspiracy theorist. Yes, it was not Arabs that crashed into the towers. It was not Arabs who hijacked those airplanes. It was not Arabs who were responsible for the 9/11 attacks on this country. It was Bush. It was U.S. government trying to get to Saddam Hussein. And they got him because of 9/11 attacks that were perpetrated by Bush. Well, that's what the 9/11 conspiracy theorists believe. With a little help from President Obama, the story continues, they have been treated like celebrities in New York, Qatar, and now Saudi Arabia. It's not Qatar, it's Qatar, for those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Rio Linda. It was only weeks ago that 14-year-old Muhammad brought his suitcase clock to MacArthur High School in Irving, Texas, way back on September 4th, 2015. Yeah, that was about a month ago now. Cops temporarily detained him, and school officials imposed a 3-day suspension, but the ensuing media attention prompted an invite to the White House by President Obama. It also brought attention by dignitaries around the globe. Mohammed and his family arrived in Abdul Aziz International Airport in Jeddah. That's not Jedi, that's Jeddah. I know. I was talking to somebody, what was it, last month, and the mention of certain Saudi cities came up, and Jeddah was one of them, and he's like, there's a city named after a Star Wars character? I kid you not. This and this was not you would expect this from like a teenager or a 20-something, but this person was in their late 40s. Oh, they have a city named after a Star Wars character? As in Jedi. No, not Jedi, Jedi, but Jeddah. As in Jeddah. The most interesting thing about the conversation is that not that he confused it and didn't hear, he heard similarities. That's not the thing. The thing is that he wasn't embarrassed that he didn't know the difference. That was the amazing part to me of that conversation. No, not Jedi, Jeddah. So yeah, the city in Saudi Arabia that is evidently named after a Star Wars character. Last Friday he was there. They landed after spending time with Turkey's prime minister at the UN's General Assembly in New York and touring an education city in Doha, Qatar, founded by the Qatari government. And I'm surprised they don't confuse the name Qatar with a video game. There probably is somebody out there who's done that. Nothing surprises me anymore because of the dumbing down of our I mean, it's insidious. And now I'm not talking about. I know that there somebody. What, the movies, Rod? I haven't seen half of these terrible movies that are. Most of the terrible movies. I'll admit, I am a fan of B movies, but I'm a fan of B movies that were made and intended to be B movies, not mainstream. A-lister movies that are supposed to be A-lister and they turn out to be B movies, and especially all these horror things. Well, this is the month for horror movies, and I'm just going to take an aside here for a second. This is every October, starting in September, mid-September through October, we get a plethora of new horror movies, and every new horror movie is more terrifying than the last. You'll never look in a closet the same way again, or you'll never drive your car down a lonely road the same way again, and you'll always, you're just going to be scared for the rest of your life. I made that mistake and bought into one of these. What was the Cabin in the Woods? Now, I guess I was mistaken, but I thought it was supposed to be a horrifying movie, and I had friends that they convinced me to go with them, so I got dragged to Cabin in the Woods. It ended up being a comedy. Well, that's what I thought, and I was told later, Rod, that's not a comedy, that's a horror movie, man. The old Wolfman movies from the 50s were more scary than this thing. Are you kidding me? And they thought there was something wrong with me because I wasn't the only one in the audience laughing, by the way. I wasn't. I literally laughed through the movie. These horror movies to me are not scary. Good suspense movies are scary. But all these zombie things and slasher. What I know what you did last summer, and I know what you did 15 summers ago, and I know what you did back in the 1900s, the summer of 1900. What are those things? I know there's. I didn't even the supposed classics. They did a photo shoot with who's the guy that played Jason in the Friday the 13th movies? I think that's Jason, right? Yeah. And Robert Englund, who played Freddy in all the Freddy Krueger movies. They did a Freddy. I have still yet to see the Freddy versus Jason. Is that a Friday the 13th or is that a Nightmare on Elm Street movie? I don't. Anyway, I have yet to see that one, and I doubt I will. It's probably on Netflix right now. But there was a photo shoot with the two of them together, and it's like Freddy versus Jason again in real life. And the headline made it look like they were angry with each other or something. No, they were just. I think it's because of a comic. I think it was because of Comic-Con, isn't that? They were photographed together. I think it was at Comic-Con. I don't know. I didn't. It's a waste of time. Maybe the problem is that they're in a theater and you're not at home by yourself watching these things. I don't know, but the genre of horror movies is not horrific. But I mean, it is horrific, but not in the way that people want it to be horrific. Just is any. I don't. Did Cabin by the Woods or Cabin in the Woods, whatever it was, did it actually make any money? I don't recall. I don't. But it's kind of interesting that because I have my finger on the pulse of current events and entertainment, I know a lot of this stuff and I don't know everything that's coming out there. I mean, I know a lot of. I like this Martian movie with Ben Affleck's buddy there. Yeah, whatever his name is. Ben Affleck. The Boston duo. Anyway, I I had not, for some reason, for the past couple of weeks, it's been the number one movie in theaters. Okay. I didn't really seem all that interested when I saw some of the trailers. And besides, it's with these liberal nut jobs anyway. I mean, you got to stop supporting these people. Really, stop going to the, stop. Well, what is it? Shia LaBeouf got arrested. Shia, from, he should have stuck with, well, I don't know if they wanted him for the latest Terminator, not Terminator, oh, good grief. Now losing my train of thought here and can't think of the name of the movies. And I actually kind of like the Transformers. I actually kind of like that. But LaBeouf he's turning out to be a nut job, I guess. I don't know. I guess he was arrested in Texas last week for, I don't know, maybe drunken, disorderly conduct or something. Look, you give these people all this money and they have nothing to do with their time, so they're going to go waste it on booze and drugs and get themselves into trouble. And Shia LaBeouf seems, this is not the first time he's had a run-in with the law, so it seems like he's going down that road. But I don't know. I don't think they wanted him for the latest Transformers installment. Wasn't he was too much trouble or something? I don't know. He also did the last Indiana Jones. I understand there's going to be an Indiana Jones reboot. We just keep recirculating and all that kind of. And I know you're thinking, what the hell does this have to do with a clock boy? Well, actually, it has a lot to do with it, because we're turning this kid into a celebrity, and that's the only way people are paying attention to him. But unfortunately, because we're turning him into this misunderstood good guy, he's now got this misunderstood good guy persona. He's on tour in the Middle East now as being some sort of misunderstood 14-year-old hero for pointing out the how bad and how racist and bigoted the American people are. And thanks to Obama, that's how he got there. But he will be honored by the Creativity Committee of the Sudanese community in Jeddah, not Jedi, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, during a celebration which will be organized soon with prominent personalities of the community of within the kingdom and journalists of the Sudanese media, including TV and newspapers. The kid's got a full, 15 minutes of fame going on here, and it looks like it's going to be more than 15 minutes. Now, while in Saudi Arabia, the family also plans to visit relatives and take part in Umrah, pilgrimage to Mecca hosted by the Saudi government. So, look, the kid is full on Islamist at 14, and I can't prove it, but you can't honestly tell me that the kid came up with this idea all by his lonesome. I am sure that his dad had a lot to do with this. Maybe it's by the way, he's got a little brother. I don't normally pick on people, but I thought being fat was a sin in Islam. But anyway, his little brother's a little porker, and this kid looks like he hasn't eaten it. Ahmed looks like he hasn't eaten in weeks because he's such a rail. But that often happens with teenagers, or not just in America, around the globe. They can be extremely rail thin. It's not for lack of food, because they probably eat like horses, but some kids' metabolisms is just so high that they just can't gain any weight. And their metabolism, and with them growing at the same time, all this energy into growing, they just end up being very skinny. And what is it? It was back in the summer, and I was talking about eating bad food. and, fast food all the time. And this kid is like, he's 18 years old, about 6'1", 6'2", and if he was lucky, he weighed 120 pounds. He was just, and I'm like, dude. Yeah, I spoke their language. I said, dude, you really got to eat something. He goes, man, I eat like 4 or 5 times a day, and I go to like Burger King and McDonald's every other day. Like, you eat that crap, and you still look like that? Some people are just blessed with metabolisms that are, but on the other end, you got this. I know you got this 800-pound guy out there who evidently was, kicked out of the hospital because he ordered a pizza, and now he's out there saying, "Oh man, no, I don't want to be this anymore. I don't want to weigh this." And I don't know how you get to weigh that much. Look, you gotta get up and move or something. When you hit like 300 pounds or even 400 pounds, you got to say there's a problem. You just don't keep eating. But anyway, so this kid is he's now a full-fledged Muslim celebrity. I don't know. Now Muhammad El Hassan Mohammed. How did they do that? I mean, his first name is Mohammed, Mohammed. El Hassan Mohammed. Last name is spelled Mohammed, 1 M. So Muhammad El Hassan Mohammed, the boy's father, immigrated to the U.S. In the mid-'80s from Sudan. He has twice attempted to become the North African country's president as part of the Arabic Language National Reform Party. The official Facebook page for the 50-year-old's political party has been locked by moderators since its support for 9/11 conspiracy theories was published last week. Oh my goodness! Now the moderators lock it because oh, how terrible of Facebook. Well, the guy's a kook. He's a smart kook, but he's a kook. And I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him, by the way. But so they're off enjoying themselves, being celebrities, getting their 15, 20, 30 minutes of fame out there in the Middle East. And look, don't think he's still not being looked at as being the poor little clock boy here in the United States, because what all the stories are pointing to. Well, does that look like a bomb? Yes, it looks like a. I was it the Huffington Puffington Post once asked, "Does that really look like a bomb to you?" Yeah, maybe it wasn't the Huffington Post, but it was one of those liberal public online publications asking the question, "Does it really look like a bomb?" Yes. And all you got to do is put a picture of a real suitcase bomb next to this thing. And the only thing that's missing, obviously, is the explosive material. But by today's standards, it could be hidden in the case. Might not be able to see it. But, yeah. So now we're supposed to feel sorry because this kid purposely made a clock to look like a bomb. And because everybody freaked out and thought it was a bomb, but it wasn't, now we're supposed to feel sorry for him for rushing to judgment. But frankly, no, the administration of the school and the police did exactly what they should have done. And what they should have done is probably charge the kid with a hoax. Look, I mean, they're charging people with terror. They're charging people with terrorism for flying the Confederate battle flag. So why is this kid getting off? I kid you. The Daily Beast, terror charges for Confederate flag-toting group. The group is called Respect the Flag. Now, you already know what I think about the Confederate battle flag. I'm not a fan of it, but I don't think the people who like it, use it, support it, blah, 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 are a bunch of hillbilly racists, because most of them are not, and I think they have a right to fly it. But now, just like out in California, where it's now illegal for any public school, parochial, elementary, middle school, high school, or public college, to use the word for their mascot or the name of their college sports teams of Redskin. Because this is where this stuff is going. So now all of a sudden, the Confederate battle flag is supposed to represent, I guess, overt terroristic racism? The 15 fans of the rebel flag. Now, whatever happened to the First Amendment in this country? Seriously, whatever happened to that? I mean, there are a lot of people out there that say stuff that offends me. Most of the time, they're a liberal. But I am not out there trying to say that we need to make laws to shut liberals up. That's just stupid. 15 fans of the rebel flag supporters have been charged with making terrorist threats during a July confrontation with black attendees at a Georgia birthday party. A woman's voice is heard in a video shouting at a caravan of at least 4 pickup trucks, each flying the Confederate flag, as they pass the children's birthday party in Douglasville, Georgia. The passengers allegedly hurling racial epithets at the attendees. Now 15 people associated with the Confederate flag-toting movement Respect the Flag have been charged with making terroristic threats that day. So calling somebody the N-word, I guess, and while flying the Confederate battle flag, is now the equivalent of this Islamic boy bringing a clock that looks like a briefcase bomb to school. Oh, wait. No, it's not. He wasn't charged for terrorist activity, but those poor white people flying a flag, they were.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals, because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Sorry for white people. Really, because, anything that a white person says or does now, especially if they're a conservative, is being construed by the left as being racist and bigoted and full of white privilege. That's the new thing, white privilege. And the worst of it all, if you are a male and you're white, male white privilege is the worst. No matter what you do. Hey, walk down the street. Oh, yeah, he can walk like that because he's, a white male. White male privilege on display right there, him walking down the street. You may think I'm only being half facetious there. I mean, it's that. Look, you go to some of these, Black is Beautiful or Black Power type of Facebook pages or people who believe in that kind of stuff, and you'll see articles and postings and all of them all the time talking about white privilege and white male privilege and male privilege. Now the male privilege is really code for white male privilege because black men don't have any privilege, according to them. I'm just saying. And if you're a black conservative, you're just trying to be white. You want that white male privilege, don't you, Rod? Well, look, I wish I was jesting, but unfortunately, I'm not. Well, you know what it is? It's simply for tonight. I'm just drunk. I probably shouldn't have said that because now somebody is going to take me out of context. I know. Not drunk with alcohol. Drunk with freedom. Welcome back. It is I, your lovable host, Rod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio where I am drunk with freedom, not drunk with power, although I do have a powerful voice. As I broadcast from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. The number that you can call this evening is 603-835-3224. If I cannot provide the left with fodder, what fun is it? Because some damn fool out there is listening to this and say, yeah, Rod's on the air drunk, man. That's why he thinks the way he thinks, is he's drunk all the time. Oh man. I'm not going to apologize for having fun doing this program. Because it is a blast. I'm having a blast. Unfortunately, the subject matter that I often bring to you does not make me happy. But I'm still having fun making fun of the left. And it's not, they make it so easy. I know I don't have to really try very hard to make fun of them because they're just so idiotic. But it's still fun. And they constantly do stuff that makes me do the Spock eyebrow raise and think, and all I think about is when I'm preparing for this program on a daily basis, and I'm doing stuff for the website and all my social media pages, is I am constantly raising that one eyebrow like Spock because I'm thinking, I know I see it every day, but I just cannot believe these people are this idiotic. I can't believe that these people are this stupid. And it's sometimes the stuff that I research makes me mad, but most of the time I just raise that one eyebrow like Spock on Star Trek and think, well, this has got to be some of the most illogical bunch of bunk and idiots I've ever seen or heard or read. You on the left, I'm sorry, y'all just make me have a good time with life, really. I know you're dangerous. Don't get me wrong, I am not discounting you at all, because y'all are dangerous. Y'all are mortally dangerous. And notice how I use the jargon y'all there, as if I'm from the South, but I ain't from the South, just so y'all know. I'm a Northerner. But I can use Southern slang with the best of them. Y'all. I can even slow down my cadence so where I'm sounding more like y'all from south of the border of Mason-Dixon line. There are certain accents I am pretty good with. I'll admit it. I'm another story here, a true story. When I was working for a business consulting firm, which I won't name, no free advertisement here. And by the way, have y'all heard the new sponsor of the program? Listen again at the bottom of the hour. You'll hear a new sponsor, and we got another one coming on. And I think their spots will start airing sometime next week. But look, I can't garner sponsorships unless people listen. And the numbers are coming back that this show is growing and people are listening. But anyway, there's and I thank you for listening. Back when I worked for this major business consulting firm, and we were doing some telephone marketing, otherwise known as telemarketing, to business CEOs, business presidents. And I'm not talking little small mom and pop shops. We were talking to founders and presidents of privately owned companies that did, $10 million a year or more in sales. Not little slouchy companies. I'm talking to people that had, 100 or more employees. And one day, somebody challenged me to actually go ahead and call businesses in the South. And I said, well, that's not a problem. They go, no. We dare you for the entire morning to call no business but businesses in the South, like in Georgia and North Carolina, Alabama. And you have to do, because I had done my Southern accent with it, and you have to do Southern accent that is probably most prevalent in that state. I said, well, okay, I'll take that bet. And I did. And there were a few times when I said, I have to apologize, I'm really not from the South, I'm from the North. And each and every time that I admitted I was not from the South, the person on the other line in Georgia, in South Carolina, in Alabama, they told me, well, geez, you sounded just like one of us, son. So I know my Southern accents are on spot. The problem is that when the dare was over, I got to tell you, I probably got more appointments that morning by sounding like them because they thought I was one of them. More appointments to actually go into their business and do business surveys for them. For no cost. There was no charge for that, by the way. So it's not like I was railroading them or roping them into doing anything. They just got a business survey is something. You go in there for a week. The firm that I work for, they went in for a whole week to measure and monitor and look at every aspect of that person's business for them and give them a free report after that. So we got all these appointments, and the problem was after the dare was over, I couldn't stop speaking in a Southern drawl, which is why today, because that Southern accent is very contagious, and if you're not careful, you just start talking that way, and you don't even realize you're doing it, and you just keep doing it, and here it is, in the afternoon, and they're saying you need to stop, Rod. You don't need to do that anymore. I'm like, do what? They're like, you're doing it now. You're talking in a Southern drawl. I'm like, man, it's hard to stop. It's one of the most contagious accents on the planet. My personal belief. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying it's very contagious. It's very contagious. I don't know where it came from, or how Americans got it that way. But oftentimes you'll find Northerners that move down to the South, and if they've been there for a little while, they start sounding like they're from the South. But when Southerners come up north, they don't lose that Southern accent. I don't understand it. I really don't. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. There are certain Southern. If you're from the Atlanta area, a Southern woman with an Atlanta accent via, i.e. remember Designing Women of the 80s? I actually think that kind of accent's kind of sexy. So is an Irish accent too on a woman. That's kind of preferences, but I don't find anything wrong with the Southern. Well, there are certain Southern accents, and they get the real Southern drawl. When they say "get it" instead of "get it" or "get it," "get." Well, it's kind of like the Boston accent of "park in the car" in the Boston Garden. That drives me insane. I'll admit it, but I do happen to like the Maine accent. I can't get there from here. I kind of like that one. New England has got a plethora of accents, too. Anyway, speaking of accents, but this is not even having to do with an accent, Jeb Bush is caught with a plant taunting Trump. And where was I going with it? Well, it's because of the terror charges on the good old boys flying a flag, a Confederate battle flag, going past the black kid's birthday party. I guess. I can understand where it's a little disconcerting, maybe even a little bit frightening if somebody drives by. You get 3 or 4 pickup trucks with Confederate battle flags flying off of them, and people shouting out, probably N-word and other epithets at you. I can see it's a little bit disconcerting, but does it amount to terrorist charges? No, it doesn't. But anyway, a Bush plant is caught taunting Trump. I've been arguing with myself of whether or not I should play more sound bites on this program. Now, see, there's 2 problems with sound bites. One, because I'm here working all by myself, so I'm the producer and all the other. I wear all the hats here at the Rod Eccles Show, so that takes more time. My time is already at a premium, but then it also does something that I really dislike. It takes away from me talking, and as you probably guess, I like talking. So that's the reason why you don't hear. It is rare for you to hear me interviewing somebody here, or me playing sound bites, because they're just time consuming to prepare, and it just takes up my talking time. Lord knows I probably need 3 hours instead of a 2-hour program. Maybe if I go to 3 hours, I will do more sound bites. But this, listening to this today, it was just unbelievable. I mean, look, I understand that Trump is in the lead on the Republican side. And if you match him up with any of the Democrats right now, he's also leading them. But this girl, well, this is actually from the Daily Caller. Daily Caller actually printed this out. I'm sure it's not just strictly a Daily Caller story, but the Trump event at the so-called No Labels event, and the girl's name is Lauren Batchelder, Batchelder. She questioned Donald Trump at the No Labels conference. And basically the story went viral. What news outlets reported, it was a confrontation about women's rights. Now, Batchelder asked whether she, under a Trump presidency, would make the same as a man, and if women would have the right to control their bodies. Well, first of all, let me address this. Look, this whole thing about women not earning the same as men, it's a red herring and it's a bunch of BS and it's not true. The whole narrative is wrong. The whole narrative is a lie. But secondly, the one person who should know better, and nobody is challenging her on this, and you're probably not going to hear this challenge come up at the debate, is Hillary Clinton pays women staffers on her campaign much less than the men staffers. So the female staffers get paid by a female less than that female is paying the males. And yet, somehow, Republicans, including Trump, diss and hate women. Well, look, I always said that I didn't, based on the facts, it was kind of suspicious. One could logically say that Hillary Clinton doesn't like women either. I know there are people who thought, well, Hillary Clinton loves women because she's a lesbian. Well, I don't know. Evidently, she doesn't like women. Now, maybe it's because of all the bimbo eruptions from her husband, Bill, that she's got a disdain for women. I don't know. The bimbos are trying to come. Was it Jennifer Flowers that was coming out with a book or something? I don't know. So some of the women from Bill's storied past are coming front and center now that Hillary is in the limelight running for the presidency. Now, news outlets reported it as a confrontation between about women's rights and whether or not a woman has a right to control their body, i.e., abortion. So are we saying that Jeb Bush is for unlimited abortion? Now, Trump's senior advisor, Daniel Scavino, first noticed that Batchelder is a Jeb Bush supporter. And this... So this is good. Look, this is nothing new, by the way. This is nothing new. That campaigns do this kind of thing, especially to the front runner. And now Batchelder also, she tweeted a bunch of stuff. She's one tweet was, "Holy cow! I just wanted my question answered," and I think Donald Trump answered her pretty fairly. But Trump isn't the first presidential candidate that this woman, has confronted. She also confronted Hillary Clinton. And she says in another tweet about Hillary, "You will never get my vote, but at least we had a decent conversation about sexual assault, and I got free food." So this Jeb Bush plant is running around all over. I don't think she can get away with it now because her picture's all over the place. But she's running around, trying to get the gotcha stuff, get the gotcha question. With all the different candidates, and pretty much, it's dirty politicking when you do stuff like that. It really is. I'm sorry, but it is. It's unnecessary, and it's just plain dirty politicking. And you do that kind of stuff when you're desperate. Now, Jeb Bush is starting to get a little desperate because you got his big money backers are starting to question him too. Saying, hey, Jeb, buddy, old friendo, pal of ours, not doing so well. We want to back a winner, and we thought you'd be the winner, but dude, you're kind of not winning right now. What's the deal? We may have to invest in another candidate here because if you don't have any chance, then why are we wasting our money with you? And that's what's really going on behind the scenes with the Bush campaign right now, because he lost traction and he can't regain it. He's getting passed over by the likes of Ben Carson and Carly Fiorina as far as support numbers are concerned. But so I guess one of the things sending out his little minions to different campaign events for different people. And now I don't know if he was actually behind sending this girl out there or not. And even if he was, she would probably deny it. Because look, that's rule number one in politics when you're caught doing something distasteful. Deny, deny, deny. Never own up to anything. Just deny, deny, deny. And when the denial doesn't seem to take or work, then you just obfuscate, obfuscate, obfuscate. In other words, just try to change the subject. And if that doesn't work, then you just delay, delay, delay. And you hope that by delaying, delaying presenting the required evidence that people are demanding of you and so forth. If you delay, you think people will stop paying attention to you, or at least that particular issue or subject. And that has worked in the past. But the problem is that we're in this new era of new media, mostly called the internet, and that stuff just never dies anymore. It doesn't go away. And oftentimes what you'll find is a bunch of lamestream media people who don't know how to do their job will often go back to the web to get their ideas and questions. Believe it or not, that's where a lot of them do their homework online, especially when it comes to right-leaning news and information. They're getting it from us. They're not doing their own investigation. They're just, tapping out a few keys on Google or Bing or what have you and coming up with a bunch of, right-leaning, right-wing websites. And that's where they're getting all of this stuff. They're not hearing it themselves. They're not investigating it for themselves. They're getting it from us. And then they try to make it sound like it's all them, that they did the research and asked the questions and got all this kind of stuff out. They didn't do that. They got it from us. It's a lazy man's look, I'm not a journalist, but these people who are calling themselves journalists, that's a lazy way to be a journalist. But that's not what a journalist does. That's what a pundit does. And the lamestream media is full of pundits who claim that they're journalists, but they're not. Kind of like this girl who wanted an answer that she already knew the answer to the question that she asked.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Power Swabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is Ben Gordon with Power Swabs, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Power Swabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Power Swabs risk-free, call 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
Start training for a new career in as little as 18 days. National EMS Institute's innovative boot camp program will train you for a new career. Learn to respond to emergency situations and become a certified EMT in just 18 days. National EMS Institute guarantees 100% job placement. Visit www.nationaleMSinstitute.com today to learn more about our 18-day boot camp. Or call us at 1-800-497-6732. NationalEMSInstitute.com.
Stuck in a boring, low-paid job? By 2017, there will be a shortage of 2 million cybersecurity jobs worldwide. If you have a technical background but don't have a computer certification, you're being drastically underpaid. In months, you could be qualified for a new job in information technology, making real money with real job security. A new career is just a few clicks away at thecodeoflearning.com.
You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show.
This is something that a lot of you wonderful Obama supporters are not going to like, and it's something that I have said for a long time as it pertains to Putin and Obama's relationship, that Putin, he doesn't necessarily dislike Obama, he just thinks Obama's an idiot. And you know, look, Obama was out there saying that, well, hey, you know, Putin, he decided to come bring Russian troops down there to support Assad in Syria, which means their policy wasn't working, and mine was. I mean, could you be more convoluted than that? Could you be more deluded than that? His idea of winning is because Russia decides to put their own assets on the line in Syria. And Obama says that, well, hey, Mr. Obama, now that they're doing that, they're kicking the butts out of, they're kicking tail out of not only those that use ISIS, but those that you support, the so-called rebels. So, are you still winning, Mr. President? And look, Putin is like this. Putin is this kind of. Well, Putin is the kind of guy. He's like a Godfather type of guy. He's like, well, you know what, Assad, I have told you how to win, and you just can't execute. Now I'm going to have to come down there and do it for you. That's not losing. And having Putin enter the Middle East with warcraft, basically, that's not the U.S. winning. And when you have the Brits who are saying, "Well, look, you know, if the Ruskies, if they threaten you, endanger you, shoot them down," that's not winning. When you have American pilots, being buzzed by Russian pilots, that's not winning. But in any event, here's a Newsmax story. Putin slams Obama on Syria, saying U.S. has mush for brains, meaning Obama. Well, the American voter, too, for voting this guy into office for 2 terms. But President Vladimir Putin said earlier today he slammed Washington refusing to share intelligence with Russia on Syria and accused it of muddled thinking. Now, I believe some of our partners simply have mush for brains. Now, I find it interesting that Putin is calling us a partner. Did anybody else find that a little bit interesting? Wait. Isn't Putin bombing the rebels that we support and that we just, airdropped a bunch of weapons and ammunition for? But we're Putin's partners? Now, I'm gonna admit I'm a little confused here. Now I know Putin is a former KGB. He's former KGB. In other words, misinformation is the name of the game. It's rule number 1 for the KGB: misinformation. But when you have a president who's also known as the liar in chief, now you got to wonder, well, who's telling the truth here? And what's the end game? And it's pretty bad when you have to give the slight edge to a former Soviet Union KGB agent. There, you can't see my face right now, but I'm doing the Spock one eyebrow raise. Fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating that the American people have to try to figure this out this way. I mean, look, don't get me. I know our government has lied to us. I know, I'm not talking about Bush and Iraq and that kind of crap, but I know our government has lied to the American people. I know they often don't tell us the whole truth, nothing but the truth, type of thing. But I also know that not always does the bad guy lie. Problem is that when you look at those who are supposed to be on your side, who have been caught lying numerous times, and you look at the bad guy, who's also known to be a known liar, you have to wonder, who's telling the truth in this? That's pretty sad when we can't figure it out. But here's the rest of the story. Now, Putin said, expressing some of his strongest criticism of Washington's handling of the Syrian crisis. And it's not Washington, it's the Obama administration. No, I'm surprised at Newsmax, and they're saying Washington. I don't think McConnell and Bonner and Pelosi and Reid really have all that much to do with the Obama administration's policy in Syria. Let's face it. I mean, that's what the president's supposed to be there for. Now, last month, Moscow launched a bombing campaign in Syria, saying it needed to target Islamic State jihadists before they cross into Russia, which has a large Muslim population. Again, even though he's getting into bed with Assad and Iran, don't think for an instant that Putin is a Muslim lover. He can't stand them. But he does know that they control something that he wants, oil, and certain territory assets down in the Middle East. But look, Putin has also said, has said before that, why isn't Obama protecting Christians? Putin is not exactly known as being a Christian. Although he has been seen in Orthodox churches in Russia and hanging around some Orthodox Christian leaders. But he's not really known as being a God-fearing. In fact, at some point, up until recently, people wondered if he actually believed in God at all, because communism is really anti-God, and Putin is a huge communism fan. But people have often wondered if he had any faith in anything at all other than himself and in people. Well, Russian people. Well, communist Russian people. However, Washington and its allies slammed Russia's intervention in the conflict, saying Moscow was also targeting Western-backed moderate rebels and sought to prop up the regime of Bashar al-Assad. Well, he said that. Well, he's out there targeting our guys. You know, we spent half $1 billion, you know, on training these guys. You know, there's like 9 or 10 of them, I know. But, hey, we still spent that money. And now he's out there bombing them and killing them. What up with that, Putin? Come on, Vlad. Give a brother a break. Now, we often hear that her pilots are striking the wrong targets. Not IS, Putin said in an investment forum in Moscow, explaining that Russia had asked Washington to provide a list of targets. But Putin says Washington declined. So Putin is saying, well, since they didn't give us targets, we're just going to bomb whoever the hell we want. Look, when you have a guy who's as inept and as weak and as cowardly as Obama, it's easy for a guy who has some chutzpah, some brass cojones, like Putin, to make mincemeat of him. So the very fact that maybe Putin is telling at least partial, a partial truth here, the reason is that the big important thing to remember is that he's even there in the first place. You know, look, I'm not saying that we should have toppled Assad. Assad's a bad guy. I get it. And I have no doubt that if Bush didn't screw up the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq, that Syria and Iran were next on the list. The state sponsors of terror. I mean, this is war against terror, right? So you got to take out the terrorists. Well, you take out terrorists in the countries that support terrorists. And we know that a lot of weaponry, or at least mystery stuff, Saddam sent to Syria. We saw the trucks going and the truck tracks in the desert going and leading across the Syrian border. So we know that they sent stuff over there. And we know that, Assad has used certain weapons of mass destruction against his own people. Similar stuff that Saddam used against the Kurds. Well, where did he get it from? George, where did he get it from? And we decided Obama decided that we were going to support some untrained, ill-prepared, unqualified, unarmed rebels against Assad. And evidently, our support didn't help them any, because they were unable to topple Assad. And things got to be such a mess down there that Putin says, look, we gotta fix this. It's going to be a big problem if we don't fix it, so we're going to go down there and we're going to fix it. Because our country's president, our administration, got on the wrong side with the wrong people, with the wrong policy, which is why it didn't work, which is why we weren't winning, which is why Putin is now in there bombing whoever the hell he wants, and then accusing Washington or the Obama administration of not telling them who to bomb. Think about that for a second. Putin is running around bombing everything in sight that seems to be against Assad, and it's only because we're not telling him. Well, I would think, okay, Putin, here are the bad guys. Here's ISIL. There they are. Go bomb them. But we're not even doing that, according to Putin. Which, one has to ask the question, well, are we calling Russia a partner down there? Why is Putin calling us a partner? Is this some sort of sadistic plot or plan on Obama? The guy, now, don't get me wrong, Obama's not an idiot. He's a weakling and he's a wimp and he's a puppet, but he's not an idiot. He really is a smart guy. But having brains and intelligence, when it's not backed up by strength, courage, and power and resolve, it means nothing. And Putin knows this. He might think, hey, yeah, Obama's a pretty smart guy. Yes, but he is wimp, weakling, no resolve. I can defeat him easily. I will outmaneuver because he has no resolve. And that's exactly what's happening because the guy stands for nothing. And since he doesn't stand for anything, those who do stand for something, either whether or not we agree with what they stand for or like what they stand for, they've got an advantage and a better shot of winning than we do. And unfortunately, that's that the person with the resolve is not exactly a friend of the U.S. of A. Look, when you start talking about, giving, did we get? I don't think Britain gave the RAF permission to shoot down Russian jets. Did we? Rules of engagement, did we say, okay, yeah, shoot them down if they bother you like that? I haven't heard that close encounters of the Russian kind happening with the RAF since the RAF said, well, yeah, shoot them down. But now we're getting multiple close encounters of the Russian kind with U.S. aircraft. So I'm thinking our rules of engagement are probably have known by Russia and Putin are extremely limited. And they can feel free to do whatever they want as long as an RAF fighter jet isn't around. That's also pretty sad. But look, it's our own damn fault. I hate to bring it back to this point, but we elected the jerk. Not Putin, Obama. We elected him twice. And we elected him twice because we had, for two reasons, and I'm going to keep making this point. 2 reasons only. Because we let the left shame us into thinking that if we didn't vote for this guy that we were racist, and we all want to think that we're not. I'm not racist. No way. I'm not bigoted. No way am I racist. And in order to prove it, we elect the black guy. Well, half African guy. Just to prove that we're not racist. And then, of course, during his re-election, well, if you don't re-elect this guy, you're a racist. Well, I'm not a racist. So I'm going to prove I'm not racist. I'm going to vote for him. Again, just so you know. And then we had way too many Republicans, 4 or 5 million of you, sit on your lazy duffs and not go and vote. Well, Ron, I have scruples and I have, I couldn't hold my nose and vote for Romney. Well, I don't care who the Republican candidate, well, I do care who the Republican candidate is, but when it comes to November 2016, I don't care who that Republican candidate is right now. I'm telling you, hold your freaking nose and vote for him. Because any one of those Republican candidates are far more conservative and will do this country far greater good than any of the Democratic candidates right now. Any. Now, if Biden gets in the, do you want a President Biden? Honestly, are you telling me that if Jeb Bush, for whatever reason, ends up being the nominee, that you're going to sit on your little duff at home and say, I don't like Jeb Bush, I can't vote for Jeb Bush. That you think that allowing Joe Biden to be elected president is going to be better than letting Jeb Bush, Rhino, be president? Really? Because that's what you said about, Romney. I can't vote for Romney because he's such a rhino. I can't hold my nose. And then we get Obama for a second term. And he's better than Romney? Some people might think, Rod, you're being a little harsh. No, I'm not being harsh. I'm being factual, honest, and truthful. The truth is, the American voter screwed up. Big time. I guess those of us who knew better can take bear brunt of some of the responsibility, because we obviously didn't impress upon you the importance of you getting out there and voting for the most conservative candidate available at the time that could possibly win, which was Romney. And, you might say, well, Romney's a rhino. Well, yeah, but he was more conservative than Obama. Get the point I'm making there? Because I'm convinced that we would not have Putin in the Middle East and Syria bombing indiscriminately if Romney was president right now. We'd have a totally different policy in the Middle East, and we wouldn't be giving up Iraq and Afghanistan. There's just a story. The Taliban is as strong as it has been since 2001. When did they regroup? Well, after Obama pulled us out of Afghanistan and stopped targeting them. So all of those servicemen and women that went into those two countries and died to preserve liberty and peace basically died in vain. Because those countries weren't taken by the enemy. They were just handed over to the enemy. And look, I know the history of Afghanistan is a tough country. I get it. They've never really been, conquered, if you will, simply because of the system of how they live over there. I got it, get it, got it, good, right. Yeah. And you can argue that maybe we never should have entered Afghanistan, and you could be, 100% right. But once we did have it. And now we don't. Thank you very much for wasting thousands of American soldiers' lives for nothing, Mr. Putin. Speaking of Putin, by the way, do you know that? And this comes at a time when Obama is trying to cut our military even further, including our army, by reducing it by another 40,000 troops. We're at the point now. We're at what? I think we had a bigger force pre-World War II, didn't we? Yeah, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here. But Putin is, they have this tank called the T-90 tank. Russia has turned its T-90 tank into a robot and plans to hire gamers to fight future wars. Why aren't we doing this too? What's the reason? I don't know what the reason for not doing it. It costs money to develop this type of stuff. Arms company said it is refitting the iconic war machine, the T-90, to work remotely. Drivers will be able to maneuver war machine from up to 3 miles away. The Russian deputy prime minister said future army will need to recruit gamers in order to work the tanks. Think about this first. You want to talk about, robots fighting in wars? Well, here's the next best thing. Like us and our drones, it's people who aren't. Oh man, you just lost it. You got blown up. Yeah, that's okay. I just grab another tank. Yep, they get to live again. And the worst part is that it's not going to be human operated tank versus human operated tank. It's going to be remotely controlled tank versus human operated tank. And so when you blow up the human operated tank, you really lose. Where if you just blow up the the remotely operated tank, all they got to do is like a video game is start over and get a new tank. Boom, there it is. I don't know. I know some people are saying, well, we don't want to get into remote wars like that, Rod. I understand that, but when you're talking about dealing with stuff like this, you got to be able to either, if you can't at least be ahead of the game, you got to be able to at least match the game. You're going to lose. Right now, we're not winning. Hate to quote Charlie Sheen, but not winning. Charlie Sheen would probably, I hate to say, Charlie Sheen would probably be a better president than Barack Obama. As nutty as that man is. And well, one thing for sure, if you had Charlie Sheen in the White House, it would make the Clinton bimbo eruption look tame. Speaking of tame, you see Playboy has announced that they're not going to have nude photos in Playboy anymore. What are all the guys who, because everybody reads Playboy for the articles, the insightful articles. Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure Putin is over there reading the articles in Playboy. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm Rod Eccles. This has been the Rod Eccles Show. I'm out.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.